Hello and welcome to Super Great Kids Stories, wise tales from storytellers around the world, which will make you laugh and sometimes cry. Recommended for ages 5 to 105. I'm Kim and I love stories. Today's story is The White Cow. It's from Mexico in North America. And how are you, Super Great Story fans? I hope you had a happy week. It's well and truly summer here in the UK, and I'm going on holiday to Sweden to swim in some lakes. And Super Great David is going off to see his friends in France. Travelling is the best, so we're in very high spirits. I keep singing, "We're all going on a summer holiday," which is probably not going down very well with my neighbours. And when we return, we're going to plan our live storytelling performance in Hammersmith's Irish Cultural Centre in London to celebrate our 5th birthday. The show is on Saturday, September the 20th, and tickets are available now. Go to our website, supergreatkidsstories.com, and look under the news section for details. And for those of you in other parts of the world, Amy Douglas and Jason Buck are putting on a Super Great Kids Stories online show on Saturday, September the 14th. Amy, Jason and me will be telling stories on Zoom. You can also buy tickets for that in the news section of our website. And another reason to be cheerful is that we have a new storyteller for you today. His name is Tim Ralphs. He lives in Nottingham in the UK and he's going to tell you a brilliant trickster story from Mexico. And just before we settle down to hear Tim tell his tale, I have a little challenge for you while we have a quick word with the grown-ups. There were 2 tricksters in last week's story, a crocodile and a monkey. The week before, it was an old woman who was tricking a monster. If you were telling a trickster story, who would you have as your trickster? And who would they be tricking? Well, for example, it might be a Nancy, or it might be an animal like one of your pets, or a snake or a spider, or it might be a fantasy creature like a little devil or an imp or even a dragon. Why don't you have a go at thinking who you'd put in your trickster story? Are you ready? Off you go. Hello, Super Great Grown-ups. This episode is sponsored by Indeed. Running your own business? Need another helper? Does your heart sink when a Super Great team member flies the nest? Whether you want someone canny like Brer Rabbit or as skilled as the shoemaker's elves, finding the right person fast is not easy. That's why you need Indeed, your real-life fairy godmother. If you're struggling to get your job post seen elsewhere, Indeed's sponsored jobs can help you hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your candidates, so job applications will pour into your inbox like golden rain. So don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Listeners of Super Great Kids Stories will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at indeed.com/kidsstories. That's indeed.com/kidsstories. And support us by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Hello, Super Great Kids, I'm back. Did you think of a trickster and who they might be tricking in your story? I think my trickster would be a mouse with big ears because I like doing tiny high-pitched voices. And it might be trying to trick a parrot into dropping berries from a tree because I also like the sorts of voices and sounds that parrots make. Carack, carack, carow! But right now, it's time to give a very warm welcome to talented storyteller Tim Ralphs.
Well, hello, super great kids. I'm Tim Ralphs, and I'm speaking to you from Stealing Thunder Storytelling Festival up in the Lake District 2025. It's a glorious weekend here, very hot, and just the first few drops of rain have started falling. I want to tell you a story from Mexico. It's about a little farmer. And on his farm he grew pumpkins that reminded him of the big, round, orange setting sun. And he grew corn, sweet corn, and its stalks reminded him of the golden yellow rays of sunlight. And he grew great tangled masses of green beans. And the green beans didn't really remind him of anything, but they grew very well with the pumpkins and the corn. He lived on that farm with his wife. Farmer loved his wife. The wife loved the farmer. They loved their farm. But perhaps even more than they loved each other, they loved their cow. They had one cow, and it was pure white. White as snow that fell on the tops of the distant mountains, white as freshly washed linen. Every morning the wife would take out a milk bucket, she would milk that cow, and she would marvel. What was whiter, the milk in the bucket or the soft, warm fur of her beloved cow? But they weren't the only people in their village that had strong feelings about their cow. You see, the priest in the village, he wanted that cow for himself. He wanted that cow. Dare I say it, he coveted it. And even when he was in the pulpit giving the sermon at the weekend, some part of his mind would be devising schemes so that he might come to have their white cow. Now, the priest had a farm of his own. He already had 100 cows to his name. You would think, isn't that enough? But for him, no. One Sunday, after church, he took that little farmer by the hand and he said, "Come to dinner at my house this evening." And the farmer thought, this is a lovely invitation. He didn't suspect anything. So he went to dinner. And while they were waiting for the cook to finish preparing the food, the priest took the farmer to meet each and every one of his 100 cows. And at the end of seeing this big herd of cattle, well, our little farmer, he felt very small indeed, with his little farm, with his one cow. And the priest saw that the farmer had a frown on his face and said, "Friend, what is troubling you?" "Oh, nothing's troubling me. It's lucky for you that you have so many animals." "Oh, don't you know? You have to give things away in order to receive. If you give something away, the good Lord rewards you 100 times over." "Do you mean," said the farmer, "that if I was to give away my cow, I'd get 100 cows back?" "That's exactly what I mean." "But who should I give my cow to?" "Well, now that is a good question. Obviously, it should be someone who knows how to look after cows and who will do a good job of it. And it should be someone who is well respected in the community, and it should be someone who is one of your friends." "Oh," said the farmer, "you mean I could give the cow to you?" "Well, I hadn't thought of that," said the priest, "but now that you mention it, I'd be the perfect choice." Well, the farmer, he went home to his wife. He told her about this idea that he had, that maybe they should give their cow away. And the farmer's wife, "No," she said. "Oh, what a terrible idea." "Oh, but please," he said, "we'll get 100 back." "Listen," she said, "at least let me wash the cow before we give her away." So the next morning, after she'd filled one bucket with milk, she filled another with soapy water, and she scrubbed that cow from the tip of its tail to the 2 bright points of its horns, and it was there, wet, drying in the sun. And then the wife came out from the kitchen with a brown paper bag filled with salt, and she scattered the crystals of salt all over the body of the cow. And as it dried, that salt stuck to the cow so that it glistened in the sun. When the farmer came to put a rope around his cow's neck to lead it to the priest's farm, his heart felt heavy. There was a part of him that didn't feel good about giving away his beloved cow. And the Priest just grinned to see it, ushered the cow into his field where all of his own cows were kept, laughed at the farmer and said, "Go on, hurry back home. You better start building your new cow pen for when the Lord rewards you." Meanwhile, in that cow field, the white cow was chewing, as cows do. And the 100 cows that were already there, they looked at her with 200 soft brown cows' eyes, their lovely eyelashes wafting. And then one of the most curious of the cows came over and gave the white cow a lick, just to say hello. But of course, as soon as this cow licked the white cow, it tasted the salt. And as you probably know, cows love the taste of salt. So that cow, it bellowed excitedly. And then the other cows in the field wanted to get closer, wanted to give the white cow a lick. Well, the white cow wasn't sure what was going on. All these other cows pressing close towards her, cows from far away, hearing the commotion, wanting to get in and find out what all the fuss was about. Soon, she was pressing up against the gate to the cow field, leaning against it with a great weight of all these other cows pressing and licking and pressing and licking. And then the gate gave way and the white cow started to walk away from the field. But the 100 cows from the field, they followed after her. So she started to walk a bit quicker. So they started to walk a bit quicker. So she started to run, and they started to stampede after her. And she ran the only way she knew, which was the way back home. The farmer, our little farmer, he'd just finished building the gate to his new cow pen, when what did he see? It must be 100 cows coming towards him, and there at the front, his own dear white cow. Well, he watched as one after another all of those cows came and filled his field. He closed the gate, he notched it, he locked it. He looked up at the house. There was his wife at the window, and he said, "See, wife, the Lord has rewarded us 100 times over." And his wife looked down and smiled and said nothing.
Oh, thank you so much, Tim. What a great story. And here's my question. Why do you think the wife said nothing? And who do you think was the trickster in that story? The priest or the wife? And why? Ask your grown-ups what they think. I loved that story. I really like cows with their big eyes and their soft mooing. I even like their smell. There's a lovely little book which would make good summer reading called The Secret Life of Cows. It's probably more for a grown-up really, but your grown-ups could share bits of it with you. Did you know that cows like to play games like chase, and they like listening to music and often produce better milk if they're played music while being milked? Just amazing. Maybe you could draw us a picture of the white cow being milked by the little farmer. Or you could tell your own version of that story to someone. Send us your cow pictures for Story Owl to post, and you might even get a mention on the podcast as the artist who drew the picture of the week. And we'll post all pictures on our Facebook and Instagram picture gallery. Send it to facebook.com/supergreatkidsstories or to our website supergreatkidsstories.com, and Story Owl will reply to you. And now, it's time to say hello to some owlets who've recently joined our storytelling club. So, let's spread our wings and fly around the world with Story Owl to meet them. Let's begin in the US, in Newport in Rhode Island, where Walker, who is 8, and Phoenix, who's 5.5, have been listening to Super Great Kids stories for many years. That makes you super fans. They like listening to the stories on the way to school. And let's head to the Middle East now, to the United Arab Emirates, where Nicholas, who is 8, and Max, who is 6, live in Abu Dhabi. They're both scary story fans. Nicholas's favourite is The Singing Bone, And Max's is the hairy toe. Very brave. Back to the US now to greet Cambria, who is 7, and 5-year-old Blake, who live in Utah. Cambria is a big fan of all the How and Why stories and the hairy toe. And Blake's favourite is the Ghost of the Bloody Finger, and they both love all of the scary stories. And flying east next to say hello to Tessa, who is 5, who's been listening since she and her family moved to New Jersey 2 years ago. She especially likes the Kurupira and the Baba Yaga stories, particularly Baba Yaga and Masha the Clever. Staying in the US, let's say hello to Willow, who is 5, who lives in Interlochen in Michigan. Willow's been listening ever since she was 2, and her favourite story is The Luck Child. Now heading south to Tampa in Florida, where 6-year-old Georgia listens with her baby brother Jonas. Georgia loves the belly button monster. That is a really good story, Georgia. Off to Colorado next to greet Owlet Gunnar, who is 8. His favourite is The 2 Silly Witches, which is also the first one he heard. Gunnar likes to listen during car rides and before bedtime. And off across the Atlantic to County Cork in Ireland now to greet Owlet Ellen Cora, who became an owlet just a couple of months ago. Her favourites are The Ghost of the Bloody Finger and Eggshell Soup. Back now to the US, to St. Louis in Missouri, to say hello to Justin, who is 10, and Rosie, who is 8. Justin loves the trickster stories, especially Chistu, and Rosie is a fan of the scary stories and Why the Sea is Salty, told by Dominic Kelly. And spreading our wings to fly down to Bali in Indonesia now, where Noah Oliver, who is 9, loves the Rumpelstiltskin story. He thought it was hilarious. He loves funny but meaningful stories with lots of character and emotion. Good for you, Noah Oliver. And up to Ithaca in New York State now to say hoo 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 to Owlet Fianna, who's just turned 5. I hope you had a happy day. Fianna loves The Ghost of the Bloody Finger, Troll Ale and any story that has a trickster in it. Hurrah! Good for you, Fianna. And that's it for Owlet Welcomes this week. We really appreciate your support. More hellos next week. And our Pick of the Week picture goes to 5-year-old Jasper from Atlanta, Georgia in the US for drawing a beautiful picture of the Owl Girls and the Witch. Thanks for sharing it with us, Jasper. This is such a magical story about 2 friends who turn into owls and fly off on an adventure to find some oranges. I really like the way you've drawn the owl girls flying around in the night sky with their sharp talons and soft feathery wings outstretched. And I love the way you've drawn the tree with the oranges, which look in your picture as if they're glowing. And the poor owl girl who's fallen out of the tree and is lying on the ground waiting to be rescued. Such an imaginative drawing, Jasper. Thank you. And you might like to know that that story is included in our super great book of 30 stories, which comes out in the fall. And if you pre-order it before it's out in the shops in September, you'll get a discount. You'll find that on our website in the news section. And thanks to all of you who are subscribing to our podcast. We really appreciate those of you who feel you can support us. If you subscribe on Patreon, you get a choice of 2 tiers, £3 a month, less than $4 or £6 a month. That's about $8. And for that, you'll get a shout out plus advert free plus over 50 bonus stories and all the super great scary stories. Plus, you'll get access to our super great Kids Stories Express, which cuts straight to the story. Great for listening to stories back to back. If you subscribe on Apple, It's £6 a month, and you get all of those perks. Visit our website for more details, supergreatkidsstories.com. That's it for now. Keep telling your stories and singing those songs. Have a happy week. This podcast was produced by Kim Normanton and David Smith at Wardour Studios in fabulous Fitzrovia in London.